didn't even cry once. I got close.
So I think a lot of this, the next couple of slides are kind of in the handout that I gave you, so I'll obviously take it away, have a little look at that. Let's see what we've got here. So this is kind of just a rough guide to what we're, and this is not us, this is kind of nationwide, all clubs do this all around the world. This is done in terms of how do we train and develop soccer players to give them the best chance to become the best they can. What's interesting is actually some I think in Germany and France they've actually moved to where we have 3v3, 4v4 like you guys are playing. They've recently moved to a model where they actually play 4-goal soccer, because obviously at 4 or 5 years old they all tend to kind of cluster around the ball, and so what they've moved to is, you know, 2 goals that are maybe 10, 15 yards apart, and then the kids have got a decision to make. Do I go to the goal that's open or the one where there's a bunch of players around it? Not sure how well that would go down here yet, but we'll see. That's just giving you an example of the type of thing people are doing. But these are the kind of building blocks, is trying to start off with 3v3, then 4v4, then 7v7, and then when they're 5th grade and older, in our rec league we do 9v9. We don't even go to 11v11. We used to actually do 11v11, but honestly it was sometimes a little painful to watch, and sometimes we'd see kids just parked on the edge of the 18-yard box and they would not leave it, and the ball came to them and they just boot it away. I mean, it was really not soccer. So what we're trying to encourage is kids to be involved in the game as much as possible and touch the ball as much as possible, and that's how you improve. So the main focus with the 3v3, 4v4 stuff is, as you can imagine, when you're in the field, you're involved all the time. Constantly involved, whether you're attacking, whether you're defending, you're constantly making decisions. If your team's got the ball, you're hopefully touching the ball, you're involved, you might be dribbling, you might be shooting. At your age, they're not passing, so that's not something you have to worry about. They're not quite cognitively there yet. Typically, I think when they get to about 7, then kids will start to figure out that passing is a good idea. At this age, they are just going to all gravitate around the ball, and no matter how often you shout spread out, spread out, spread out, they're not going to do it. So I wouldn't even worry about it at this age. It's fine, that's what they do. And if nothing else, think about it in the sense of whoever kid is on the ball, if it's PreK and we're playing 3v3, there's 6 kids on the field. Whoever has the ball is playing against everybody else on the field, and that player is getting a lot of practice at trying to beat 5 players, because that's what they do. So let's see. I think for 4 or 5-year-olds, if you can get 30 minutes, 45 minutes out of them in practice, you've done pretty well. Much longer than that, you'll probably start to lose them. So short and sweet is the key. I think you probably want to think about activities that you can do where every kid has a ball at their feet all the time. You probably want to finish with a little scrimmage so they get an idea of what that looks like. So if you've got a roster of 6 or 8, 3v3, 4v4, you set up little goals, use cones, however you want to do it. I think it's always a good idea to finish with a scrimmage like the real game, but I would just plan on figuring out, 2, 3 fun games that they like. I think, again, at this age, if you can theme those games so that it doesn't seem like a drill. Back in the old days when I was coaching little kids a bit more often, my go-to game was always Stuck in Shrek Swamp, with the accent and looking like a bit of an ogre. I think that was easy for me to do, and we had all kinds of games where you had to go and grab Donkey and set Princess Fiona free and not get locked up in the castle where Lord Farquhar would do this and blah blah blah. And so the kids get so into the game of Shrek, but they're always dribbling their ball to do it. They don't even know that they're actually practicing. I think that's a good way of engaging kids this age. If you just put down a cone where Peter is and say, okay, dribble to that cone, dribble around and come back, there's only so long you can do that, and they're bored. So a good way to engage them is to find fun games like that. And what you'll find is you'll probably get 1 or 2 games that the kids love, and they keep asking to play that game, and that's fine too. You know, at this age, honestly, oh, let's try another game. You try another game for 5 minutes. Oh, I don't like this game. Can we play this game again? Just go back and play it. Whatever it is that engages them, and they're into it, and they're touching the ball, and they're moving around, they're having fun. I think that all we're trying to do at this age is ball familiarity. Get comfortable on the ball, kicking it, dribbling it, touching it, controlling it, moving it, going to it, trying to get it. That's really 80% the focus, I'd say, at this age. Let's see. Kind of spoke about most of that. Most of those in these the sheets that I gave you, so I'll let you kind of have a look at that. That's more for the first and second graders. I'll go right through that. So, as I think Simon mentioned, there's no referees for your games. The referees start in first grade, so you guys can be on the field and help facilitate the game. Our suggestion is always, if you don't have to be on the field, it's probably better to kind of step off to the side if you can. I think some of these little kids get a bit intimidated by a big dad out there, especially if it's a dad in another team or you know, that kind of thing. So if you need to step on and help move them around and help them out, then do it. But I think if you're able to sort of ease your way back, that's always a good idea. And I would say, particularly with the 3-4-year-olds, the PreK, I mean, it's a good idea probably to chat to the opposing coach before the game, but if the ball goes out of bounds by a couple of feet and it looks like they're going to come back in, just keep playing. You'll be there all day if you stop it every time the ball goes out of bounds. So we're just trying to give them a rough introduction to the field size, there's the line if it goes way out. But I actually think it's quite funny when I go and watch the PreK game, and sometimes they've gone past the goal and they're all the way around it and they're coming back in like a hockey goal almost. But I think it's better to do that and they just keep playing rather than getting too caught up in the rules, and then we're, you know, blowing whistles, stop, and trying to, you know, get a kid that's 3, 4, 5 years old to kick the ball back in. You'll lose 2-3 minutes right there. The most important thing is just keep them playing. So I think that's the sort of perspective you want to have. Once they get to first grade, then the referees will kick in and they'll start calling that a bit more stringently, and then it's time for the kids to start getting used to having a ref, having clear out of bounds that are called. At your age, I wouldn't worry terribly much about it. I think that's in your handout as well, just some ideas on how to have a successful season. These are some other rec programs that we have going on throughout the year. How many of you played in the fall rec league? Some of you. So the fall is kind of the bigger, the larger number of participants. But we will do these rec skills clinics. We'll probably do 3 or 4 of them on Sundays over the course of this season, which you guys are welcome to bring your kids to. We have our pro staff come out and coach the kids, and so it's partly, hopefully gives the parent coaches an idea of here's what an age appropriate session looks like, and we'll probably do it for like $15 a kid for other families, but for volunteer coaches there's no cost for you guys if you want to bring your kids out for that ever. So moving on to more kind of logistical things, Justin Farley, who helps oversee the first and second grade age groups, I think this morning he sent out an email with a Sign Up Genius, which has all the city fields or the Scottsdale School District fields that we have permits for. So we're basically a partner with the City of Scottsdale. Way back in the day, I think, rather than them running a Parks and Rec league, they approached the club. Well, it was for all sports. They went to different organisations and said, we don't want to run a Parks and Recs rec league. You do soccer, you do baseball, you do basketball. So we work with them to get, and they basically look at how many kids we've got registered, how many have a Scottsdale address, and they do actually check, and then they do the math on how many Scottsdale residents we have and then they figure out how much field space they're going to give us. So they'll give us fields up and down Scottsdale. Go on.
Unless you're a multi-team coach, they won't get that email.
Oh,
Yes, we give the multi-team
yeah.
coaches a couple of days head start, just so they can.
Yeah. So there's
back
10.
their
Yeah.
practices up against each other. Yeah.
I think there's 10 coaches that coach more than one team, so they've received that email this morning.
Yeah.
We'll give them 24 hours to let them get first dibs on back-to-back practices, and then probably tomorrow you guys will get it, unless any of you are multi-team coaches. But you'll see it, and so you can go in there. And here's the thing: you can practice anywhere you want. The insurance that we've got covers you to, if you want to hold practice in your backyard, you could, or there's a neighbourhood park that works for you. That it's all fine. This is typically often, maybe less so in the spring, but it's more if people need to practice a little bit later and they need lights, that kind of thing. But if you want to go into the Sign Up Genius and block out a slot at Mountain View Park or at Thunderbird Park where you want to practice, then you can do that. I mean, I guess kind of on this topic, if you played in the fall rec league, you will have seen that the fields at Cochise are not in great condition right now, partly due to the lack of monsoons we had last summer. I mean, yesterday seemed like the first proper rain we'd had in a while, so it's really dusty. It's not good. It's worse than normal, and we do have a meeting with the school district and the city next week to see if we could. They've basically asked us would the soccer club be interested in partnering with them and maybe investing some money into trying to get those fields a bit better, which we would. So we'll see how that meeting goes. Hopefully we can figure out something. I mean, obviously it's not going to be anything. It's not going to be a quick fix. There's going to be some kind of irrigation type work needs done there. So we've been over and we tried to look at the areas of Cochise that have some grass as opposed to just dust. So we're going to move the fields around a little bit and we'll try and make the best of it. But you'll see yourselves if you go out to practice. It's actually, even when I'm walking my dog around other parks in town, it's the same everywhere. It's just the lack of rain. So
we'll send out a field map to you for game days, and we'll put all the kindergarten fields together, all the pre-K fields together. But basically that back south part of Cochise School, the south side of Cochise School, we've only got 377 fields over there now, and where we had all the 44 games is really bad, and so we're just going to try to leave that alone, and hopefully that'll be the part they work on first, and then so maybe in the fall we might be able to get back on there. But yeah, it's going to be a little disjointed, but your games will be in the same place every week. There won't be moving around. You'll just be I'll send you guys out a field map when they're all set in stone, and then you'll know where you are, and then tell your parents to try to park. Nobody listens, but tell your parents, the best parking for them. For example, pre-K, you'll probably be on the west side, northwest side of Cochise School. There's a parking lot right there. I mean, there's two school parking lots right there, but everybody tries to park at Mountain View Park, and it gets ridiculous. If you were, I guess you guys would have been up at Thunderbird, but it gets crazy when there's school parking lots literally just on the other side of those fields, and there's hardly anybody in, and they're covered parking spaces anyway.
So on that, obviously in the fall, if you played in the fall, the pre-K kindergarten games are Thunderbirds. For the spring, because we've got lesser numbers, we can have everybody in one site, so all the games are at Cochise and Mountain View Park. Fall season, we'll move the little guys back to Thunderbird again. Game schedules, you'll get those from Ollie. Ollie's coaching this morning himself, so he's not here. You'll get that shortly.
Those are all going to be released through BIGA, so they'll go out onto your team page. And you guys should be getting, if you don't already, when you log on to BIGA, you should be able to see your roster and everything should be in there. We'll put schedules on there. We're trying to get those done this weekend to release in the next few days.
We're doing the first 5 weeks, so
that's still.
Yeah. I think you guys will probably get your full 9-week schedule, because the manipulated schedule doesn't affect your age groups. We do that for, say, first and second grade, because the referees come back and would give us the scores. So we're able to kind of look at, okay, who are the really strong teams, who are the really weak teams, and all we do is the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season, we try and make sure that the team that's smashing everybody isn't playing the weakest team on the last day of the season, so that that team gets destroyed and their last experience of the season is a 20-0 defeat. So we'll try and pair up the weaker teams the last day of the season, last couple of weekends, and the stronger teams. Obviously, the stronger teams like to call it a championship matchup, but it's really just to try and hopefully manipulate it so that kids have a more positive end to the season. But for pre-K kindergarten, we just let it run through. That's the City of Scottsdale rain line number, which you might want to take note of, because sometimes they actually update their website first, sometimes they do their phone line first. That is what we go off. If it rains, we just look at the website, check that number, or wait and see if we get an email from the city, and then as soon if they tell us, hey, fields are closed, we'll send out an email via Bagger to you guys, say, hey, the city have shut everyone down. So for example, Thursday night, there was rain, the city shut down the fields really fast. I think because we've had so little rain, and presumably if it rains on that dust and you go out and play in it, they're just going to tear it up. So it doesn't, I mean, rarely, as we know, as residents, it doesn't rain very often, so it's never really a factor, but the odd season it has been, you know, we get this scenario whereby it starts raining on Saturday morning at 7 AM and everybody's like, are we on, are we off? And we just go by what the city tell us. It's not our decision. Whatever they.
The only other reason we would stop games is if there's lightning in the area, and we all have apps on our phone, and if there's lightning in the areas, generally we'll shut down games, and then we have to wait. What is it? It's
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
So it's more than 10 miles away.
Yeah. So I mean, if it's something that looks like it's moving through really quickly, we'll tell people, get off the fields, go get in your car. If we think it's going to go through quickly, you know, we'll say stand by. If it just looks like some big monster that's just going to train, you know, storms through, we would probably shut down today. But that's rare. I mean, that happens once every couple of years. It's not. Yeah.
Two kind of admin sort of pieces there. Everybody needs to do a background check, which will get sent to you via our club register, Polly. I actually screwed up here in that she did tell me in the fall season that the new system that she uses requires the date of birth of the individual, which we should have put in the registration form, but I forgot to, hence why you probably received an email from Ollie asking you to plug in your date of birth. So we'll just fill that out, we'll send it to Polly, she'll email you the background check, and then that gets, if you can take care of that, that'd be great. The concussion course link, is Ollie sent that to you guys already properly? Not yet. We ask everybody to take the concussion training course once. Something that we have to do it every year on the competitive club side, which is, I think I've been doing it every year for 10 years now. It's pretty painful, but if you've done it once, that's all we ask. Just do it once, get your certificate, you've done it, you're good. Game day, I'll maybe let Simon and Richard sort of speak more about the game setup, takedown stuff.
Well, it's going to be slightly different this year, and you guys are pre-K and K, so we're not sure which goals we're going to use for kindergarten yet, because we're not sure if we have enough of the medal goals over at Mountain View Cochise. So for kinder, so you might be using pop-up goals, pug nets, but we'll let you know about that. Basically, all we ask is that if your first game of the day, we'll move the goals out on the field. You pop a net on it. We put the nets on each goal. You pop a net on it. If it's pug goals, if you're pre-K, we'll put those on the field, so you don't have to do anything. And then if you're the last game of the day, we'll come by and say, hey, coach, you're the last game of the day. Can you take the net off? We usually have a bucket out there, have one of your kids throw it in that bucket, and then move the goal, the metal goals, to one side or the other of the fields. We're not actually sure where we're going to lock these up yet, so we'll let you know. Yeah, and we won't have you walk them, march them all the way across the park, but they'll be moving somewhere so we can secure them for the week. Again, there's sort of a lot of moving pieces that are still happening, but we'll make it easy for you. And to be fair, you do the coaching, get one of your parents to do that. Say, hey, Bill, Larry, you guys moved the goal over there. You're doing all the hard work. Let them help out. What else is on there?
Well, that was really. If I didn't realize if we're short of goals, we could always bring the ones from Thunderbird down.
Yeah,
Um,
just means they're gonna mature.
yeah. What I would say on the, like, if you've got a bunch of stud athletes and you're killing somebody, I think to me common sense is sort of discreetly say to their coach, hey, put in an extra player or 2 extra players. If it's 4v3, it's fine. I mean, I don't think it's that enjoyable for the kids if one team are just getting absolutely smoked. It's fun for the team that are doing it for the few minutes, and then it's just like, it's just kind of, we want it to be somewhat competitive, the nature of competing, and so we can manage, manipulate games so that to try and avoid anyone getting blown out too badly. I mean, unfortunately, 3v3, 4v4, it's sometimes quite difficult to do that because if there's a real stud kid, every time they get the ball, he or she is just going to beat everybody and score. And at some point, you know, you're not going to tell a kid not to score, but you know, if it is a kid that's particularly good like that, you could challenge him by saying, hey, listen, buddy, you've scored 5 goals already. Can you see if you can score with your left foot next time? You know, little things like that. I think even a 5-year-old will understand, and that way they're then challenging themselves and practicing a little bit with their weaker foot at the same time as maybe pumping the brakes a little bit on annihilating somebody. We have a kind of general 24-hour rule, kind of club wide, that if you see something that if you feel somebody is behaving poorly, whether it be other coaches, parents, unless it's obviously an emergency situation, I would suggest that you go sleep on it and let the emotion come out of it a little bit, and then next morning shoot us an email, let us know, and then we'll look into it. I think we say this to our club parents all the time, is in the heat of the moment after a game is never normally a good time for a parent to approach you in the parking lot to have it out with you about why little Johnny didn't start or why he got subbed out or whatever it might be. It's better to wait. So we do, 99% of people are great out there, but we do get the odd overly competitive parent who tries to justify it by claiming they were a college athlete or whatever it was, and that's why they're so competitive. It's insanity. This is kids rec soccer. We don't need people behaving like that. So let us know if you see it. We'll come out and observe their next game and see if it's a repetitive kind of thing, and if it is, then we'll have the conversation with them. And as I say, it doesn't happen very often, but the problem with it is it spoils it for everybody else, right? And that is the aggravating thing, that everybody else is out there having fun, and one person who's lacking a little self-awareness is killing it for everybody. So, Peter, were you going to add something?
I do. I just wanted to clarify something. So I'm the ref assigner. I won't bore you with the details of the nuances of all of that because you won't be having refs. But I would ask or request, so that we're not confused here, if you observe a referee that is being verbally assaulted by a grandparent, shouting and screaming, or a coach, then I would request that you come to us and let us know immediately, because we address it straight away. You have to bear in mind that the referees, 95% of them are children. That's all they are. And they're not even certified, although we are working very hard to certify them. But even if they are certified, it doesn't matter. No adult, under any circumstances, should ever attack a referee, period. Even if they've made a terrible decision, it doesn't matter. They're a child. You wouldn't attack a child on a team that's made a mistake. So it's the same for the referees. But in any event, it would be really good. We will have staff walking. If you see something that you feel as a coach and as an adult, you can always let the staff know, and we'll be there straight away to rectify it. As opposed to what Neil's talking about, where you're after getting into a conflict with another coach, that's an adult to an adult.
And although you guys don't have referees, hopefully you'll continue to play for seasons ahead, and so you will have referees at some point. So I think it's no good to have that awareness now that it's a big issue statewide is a shortage of referees, and they just quit because they're fed up showing up on a Saturday and getting abused by adults. You know, it's crazy really. And you know, all soccer clubs in the state and the state association are trying to kind of do something about it, but yeah, it's a problem. I mean, back in the old days, we always used to have certified refs in our rec games, but then there was such a shortage of them. We predominantly use actually high school kids that are playing competitive club, and if they don't have a game on a Saturday, they'll come out and ref. So they know the game, and they're good players. They've just not done the big referee certification. And for these high school kids, and these are kids that started off in our rec program, you know, 10 years ago, right? Like your kids right now, it might be your kids in 10 years. It's pretty painful as a parent if you're on the sideline watching some, like Peter says, some knucklehead granddad from Ohio lambasting this child for making a dubious call. It doesn't add up. Is that how we're going to do it, Si, roughly? You think?
Let me say that now. Yeah, so, I mean, this is the plan right now. We're laying out fields this next week. So the kinder fields are all here. So this is Mountain View Rec Center, Cochise School, PreK over here. So if I was PreK, I would tell, and I'll send out you guys this map so you have it to look. I would tell, you know, all your parents, these two lots here or on 84th Street there, you can park. Even that lot is close. And unless you're either on one of these two fields or these three, if I was kinder, I'd tell them, you know, to park here. But this parking lot gets pretty full. So these are gonna be first and second grades, kinder games. This is one, Mountain View 1, which has got third grade games on it. So this isn't that many games. This is only like 4 games a day, but this will be 6 fields, this will be 4 fields. So there's a lot of traffic. Your games are shorter, so they'll kind of come and go, which will be nice because then your games will hit in the middle of other games. So like fields, you know, the problem is when all the games, like all 77 games start at the same time, then all parents come at the same time. But because these games are different times, different time lengths, hopefully this parking lot will sort of, there'll always be a third of those, you know, spots turning over in a perfect world. But yeah, I would, if you're kinder, I would park over here in Mountain View parking lot, and that's parking on there too. But if I were PreK, I would park out on this side. And this is that area that I was talking about that we're trying to, normally the 4x4 games would all be over here, and the kindergarten, the PreK games would all be here, but we're trying to have them work on this piece first because it's the worst conditions that we've ever seen it. I mean, it's terrible.
Do you want to show where our tents will be? So
Oh, well, that's good. So normally this right here is a shipping container that we have sort of our little kind of headquarters. But because we moved so many games over to this side, so many of the 4x4 games, we're probably going to put a tent over here. I'm not exactly sure, but it'd probably be out in this area somewhere. But you'll see. We'll put up a big Phoenix Rising tent. We'll have some folks over there. Just because the first and second grade games have the most referees, because there's 6 games every hour going on over there. They're our youngest referees. So refereeing first and second grade games, you've got 12, 13-year-olds. 12 is the youngest you can start refereeing. So they need kind of the most, like, we're right there, you know, kind of keeping an eye on them. Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot more to add to that.
We'll have some practice jerseys there if you need stuff, and lost and found if you lose something.
Yeah, uniforms we've moved in the last year or two to everybody orders their own uniform directly from soccer.com. Remind me, white is.
Don't say it. It's your home white.
White is home.
White is home.
It's your home white.
Red is away. Is that right?
Yeah.
Opposite of NFL.
Okay. But it might not be a bad idea to remind your families. We will have red and white pennies for anyone who brings the wrong one or forgets. But again, the easy thing is to tell everyone to bring both jerseys every day, regardless of whether you're home or away, if possible. I think that's the easy way. If you have not collected your coach equipment, you can do so when we finish up here through the back there. We've got coach shirts for you, cones, pennies, a ball. We sell those pop-up goals for $80. I think they're probably over 100 if so the club subsidises them a little bit. They're quite handy for practice, no obligation there, but we do have them if you want them. We've got some keychains and stuff if you want them here, and these little coach notebooks. If you would like one, you're welcome to have one. Let's see. This is a kind of a roster for Richard. Do you want to,
Whoa.
or Simon, you want to chat about that at all? Or?
Well, the reality is, if you've got PreK teams, you're gonna have 5 or 6 on your roster. Hopefully 6, it just makes it easier for practice if you want to do 3 games. Kinder, you're playing 4v4, so we try to do 7, 8 players on a team. Again, 8 is ideal to play 4v4. And that's these field sizes, because we've had to shift things around and we've had to move fields where they're not normally. There's going to be a slight difference. So if you want to get out there with your, start marching off the appropriate distance of the field, it's probably not going to be what it says right there. That's sort of in a perfect world. We've had to make some accommodations because we're trying to put fields in places they aren't. And we're doing it in the spring where, so this would be Mountain View 3, which is the field where the Kinder teams are gonna be. Normally we have this entire field and we play our oldest age groups on it. Currently they use it in the spring, softball gets it. So they don't typically play on Saturdays very often. But what we've had to do is we've had to move the Kinder fields all the way out to sort of the edge, the perimeter. It's a different area. The 3rd graders that are playing here are not gonna hit a softball into your field. I mean, it's, but it's just a different area, and to fit all those fields in those areas, we had to make some slight adjustments in size and width, so it might not be exactly what it says on there. But yeah, the ball size, you guys are all using size 3 balls. When Neil and I were children, and Peter, we played with a size 5 when we were, 9 years old, and it came halfway up your leg, and you couldn't kick it. But so now they're gonna play with size 3 until I think they're in 4th grade. Yeah.
Well, I think it gives you an idea of the kind of progression of all that. But I think maybe, once you have your rosters, what often happens is sometimes you push out to your families, hey, we're going to practice on Tuesdays at 5 PM at Thunderbird, and a parent might come out and say, oh, we can't practice on Tuesdays, we've got piano lessons on Tuesdays. So there is still a little bit of kind of shuffling of rosters. I mean, they're probably 95% set, but keep in mind, if somebody, say your roster only has 5 and somebody has piano lessons and needs to move off and now you're down to 4, if you have a neighbour or a friend, we can still get them in and add them to your team. So it's not, although registration is technically closed, the wait list is still open, and typically we do and try and place everybody on the wait list. So the next week or two, once practice information starts getting pushed out, is when the rosters will become kind of finalised. But if you feel like you're short, you can add. We'll try and help you add. And obviously, so maybe you have a roster of 5, your kindergarten team, and then a kid from another team needs to practice on a Wednesday, and you practice on a Wednesday, so maybe we push them to your team. So
Ali will want to know what your practice schedule is, day, time, location, because then as other teams have a conflict, they may place new players on your team based upon your schedule and location. So check your rosters often, especially early in the season. But I think he'll send you an email wanting to know what your practice schedule is once it's finalized.
I think that's about it. I think that is all we've got, unless anyone's got any questions.
Uniforms,
Yeah, we got them in the back here.
your coach's stuff is in the back, whoever, cones, your shirt,
And your rosters are
balls.
visible now, so if you don't know how to get into BIGA, we can try and help you
So when you register
on your
your
phone.
kid to play, so log in the same way, and then when you go to your profile, you'll have access to your roster.
Yeah, the phone app works pretty good too for
If there's, I was talking to this gentleman earlier, if like, say for example, your spouse registered your kid, and you're like, hey, I don't have anything in my email, it's because we're we're sending stuff, you know, we've assigned that email, so if you wanna switch that, just let whoever's coordinating your agent, whether it's Justin, or you guys would all be Ollie, just let him know, hey, I wanna use this email in BIGA, and what we'll have to do is just assign that email, so a little bit of run around, but it can happen.
And as
Do
mentioned.
you all need gear?
Yeah, we have some in the
Yeah,
back.
okay.
But as I mentioned, on game days, there might be some communication between the league and the coaches, so it's good to have your phone with BIGA, rain delays, lightning alerts, that kind of stuff. And to email your own parents if they're lost or something, so it's helpful to have that.
Can we access the, like, other parents, like cell phone and email from FIGA, or will we
Your-
have that?
Yes, your team will be in there, and you can email parents as a group text or a group email.
Or like
can-
outside of
You can
FIGA?
email them, well, I don't know what you can see as far as parent contact, I think you'll get name, you get an email, actually, you may not even get their email address, it probably goes out through BIGA, and you don't ever see it.
Okay.
You can email your team, but feel free to, hey, parents, can you send me an email to this with your name and
Yeah.
phone number, I mean, if people are comfortable to do that, great, some people are,
Whatever method you
whatever,
choose
yeah.
to communicate.
Yes, sir.
What size pug goals are for pre-K?
The ones we have out here, I think they're 6-foot ones, we just sort of one size of them, I don't know, what, are they 6-foot goals?
6 foot, yeah.
Yeah,
We've got one handy.
they're the yellow ones.
Set one up.
So it makes them,
It said 6x4, right?
It's
they're-
kind of like a.
yeah, it's a hoop, it's sort of half of range. We've got some out there, we'll show
Just
you.
bring one out and show you. I mean, if you don't have your gear, feel free to go through there and grab it. If you've got questions, feel free to hang around, but certainly, thank you for coming today and thank you for coaching, we appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you all out there. Grab it, if you want a book or a keychain, feel free to grab